We're 5 games into the Scott Brooks era in Thunder basketball. Enough time to start drawing some conclusions. I'm Mike Sherman, and this is One-on-One with ThunderMadness.com. I'm here with our Thunder beat writers, Darnell Mayberry and Mike Baldwin, to discuss and debate all the latest news on the Thunder. Guys, let's start here. What's the biggest difference that Scott Brooks has made? Mike Baldwin.
Well, in our Wednesday preview story on the game going to Atlanta, they're averaging 10 more points a game. Without question, they're getting more offense. Better spacing, better passing, better shots, more offense without question.
Darnell?
It's energy, I think. I mean, when you look at the guys, you notice it from the opening tip in New Orleans that Saturday. His first game he took over. Players were high-fiving. They were, doing those high-flying chest bumps before the game even started. There was a different mood in the locker room. You've noticed it in practices. The guys have a different level of energy in practice. In games, I think that's the biggest difference.
There's a difference in post-game, too, isn't there? I mean, the way Scott Brooks talks after post-game has been very interesting. He's proud of his guys. He's proud of his team. This is a process. Any kind of questions he responds to seems to be he's a very upbeat guy.
Yeah, I mean, he is. PJ didn't, to his credit, he didn't bash on the guys a lot. Scott Brooks sort of takes it to another level. I think that comes from being a former player. He knows guys don't want to have their names dragged through the mud a lot throughout the season, so I think that's where he gets it from.
Okay, next question. Did the coaching change switch the team's emphasis from defense to offense, Darnell?
No, I don't think so. I think what you're saying is, they're limiting turnovers. They're getting more possessions because they're turning the ball over a lot less under Brooks. And they're not playing. I don't think they're playing better offense. I think they're just executing better when they do. I mean, and that comes from turnovers.
Mike?
I disagree. I think they're playing definitely better offense. But the 3 days they've had to practice here between games, the first 3-day off stretch they've had, he's emphasized defense because he said we flip-flop. Now we're getting the offense we weren't getting earlier. We're getting better shots. But what we're not doing is the field goal percentage for the opponents is going up. The defense allowed points are going up. He wants both of them to mesh together. So I think they're definitely getting more offense, but he's really emphasized defense. And so it's not like he's forgotten defense. He's emphasized it in practice.
How much of that is the switch in lineup where they've gone to a smaller lineup and they're getting a little bit beat up inside on the defensive end by bigger post players?
There's some of that, and they realize that, and they say rebounding's key. When you go with a smaller lineup, they were out-rebounded by 10 in the loss to Minnesota. Greg Smith, as we pointed out in the past, he had a big game that game. That's some of the trade-off, but they're getting so much better offense out of it. That's just, this team's not talented enough, like they said in practice today, Damien Wilkins. He goes, well, the Lakers, they can play small, they can play big, they can play whatever they want. This team is going to give up something no matter what they go. If they go with the 7-foot centers, then they're not going to be as fast. Their offense isn't going to be as sharp. But then if they go small, like we've seen, I like the energy. I like what they're doing now, but they're always going to give up something just because the roster is what it is.
Darnell, did that play a part in Memphis? The
small ball? I think they won that. Mark Iavaroni, I think, made a mistake in taking Gasol out. He should have played his bigger lineup and had the Thunder adjust to them. Instead, he tried to play to the Thunder. He tried to adjust to the Thunder, and that hurt him. I mean, you even had fans screaming, put Gasol in the game, because, they didn't have an answer for him. He had his way on the low block, but the Thunder, for some reason, he wanted to go small, and that played into the Thunder's hands.
It's an old Don Nelson trick. Next question. Player with the most to gain in the future from the coaching change. Darnell?
I think it's now and in the future. Damien Wilkins is the guy who wasn't playing under PJ Carlesimo. He's a guy, if he continues to play well, he's got to start playing well. If he continues to play and play well, then he's going to be the most to gain. He's going to have the most to gain. He's a shooter who's going to be looking for, an NBA future here at the end of the season. So that's the guy I think you have to look at.
And he's in there to drive some, too, not just to hang out by the three-point range. In fact, he's done a lot more of that than shoot threes, hasn't he?
And not only that, but Scott is looking at him as a defender as well. He's not looking at him just offensively. He's looking at him as a guy who's going to, sort of take the other. He took O.J. Mayo in Memphis to start the game. So he's putting him on sort of the best wing player. He didn't do it in Cleveland with LeBron. He put Jeff Green on there. But, when they have two perimeter guys that can hurt you, he puts Damien Wilkins on one of them.
Mike?
Well, it's definitely Wilkins as far as minutes. He keeps saying it's the most underrated stat out there. Give players minutes, they get productive. But I think the fans are going to gain out of this because they're going to see more of Westbrook, Durant, and Green, the few future stars, playing the positions they hope they play down the road. Over the next 4 months, we're going to see how they develop at their true natural positions. Wilkins is definitely getting more minutes right now, but the future of the franchise, I think the fans are going to get to see what this team looks like next year.
Okay, guys, who's the player with the most to lose now and in the future? Mike.
Well, it's obviously Petro now because, I mean, he started, I don't know, 8 or 9 games under PJ. He's not even getting on the court. I mean, the only time he's been on the court since Scott's really been there is in the Cleveland game when he's throwing anybody out there that wasn't playing just to save them because they were 30, 40 points behind. He's not even seeing the court, so he's got the most to lose now. Down the road, I don't know. Collison's the most interesting one we got to watch. He says he's in the rotation. Collison can bring you a lot of the intangibles. He's the trash guy, the garbage guy, brings you all those. But right now, he's not fitting in there. I think Scott is really going to try hard to find a role for him, but his role is not the same on this team.
Was it a season-low 7 minutes in
Yep,
Memphis?
7 minutes.
Wow, that was a little shocking. Who do you think?
You know, it's Petro, like Mike said. I mean, and it's because he went from starter under Carlissimo to garbage time minutes under Scott Brooks. Another guy, you know, who's sort of we're not thinking about right now because he's hurt is Robert Swift, and I think he's a guy who might sort of lose some minutes when he becomes healthy under Brooks because he hasn't been able to do anything, and he was a guy that PJ was warming up to, and now with the health issues, I think Brooks might lose. He might get lost on the end of Brooks' bench.
I think that's the most interesting variable out there before Christmas because this team has come together. It's got a new personality, more energy. But Swift said today after practice, my back still hurts. I think I may be back in 4 to 7 days. He doesn't know because backs are one of those quirky things, how you feel. But how he fits in this, because he is athletic enough that I think Brooks can find a role for him. So once we get to Christmas, let's say he comes back in a week, those 8 or 10 games before Christmas, how he fits into this I think is one of the intriguing variables under Brooks.
Okay, big change though. Russell Westbrook inserted into the starting lineup. And the final question, is he more valuable on offense or defense? Darnell, you go first.
I hate to do this, but it's a push. I mean, this team, the numbers, if you look at the numbers, the team is so bad on both ends of the floor, offensively and defensively, that Russell West, I mean, they need good players, and he's a good player who can help you on both ends. So I'm going to say he's just as helpful on both ends of the floor.
Well,
Mike?
The interesting part is he's more valuable on offense right now just because he's so much energy. You see him go into the dunks. They ask him after practice today, Coach Brooks, they go, he's got more offensive rebounds than defense. Why is that? He goes, have you ever seen him jump? His athleticism, he can get away with it. He was taking more bad shots. I think he's curtailed that back. Defense is where they need him down the future. I think he'll be a good defensive player. Right now, he's just not playing defense the way he could. But
Why is that?
I think it's learning the league and just
knowing where to be.
And a lot of that. I mean, you're playing against the greatest players in the world. It's one thing to play good defense at UCLA in the Pac-10. It's another thing to go out there and guard some of the elite guys like a Chris Paul one night or somebody else the next.
Late night game, though, on Saturday night, was he not guarding O.J. Mayo down the stretch?
The lineups were so screwy. I mean, it was hard to tell who was sort of guarding who. He had Kyle Lowry in the game. I think he was guarding him some. But I think he's been playing solid defense, maybe not man-to-man so much, but in the passing lanes. I mean, he's in the top 10, 15, 20 in the league in steals. So I think, he's playing the passing lanes, and that's helping him.
This guy was the Pac-10 Defensive Player of the Year. It's going to be interesting to watch him in the development of all the Thunder. Listen, our debate ends here, but the discussion continues on Oklahoma City's best fan site at www.thundermadness.com.